you know, ideas of stopping violence against women, having choice in reproductive justice, and like work equality are very important to my feminism, but I don't think they're requirements for all feminism. I think that, okay.
I was saying that that's what people think the tenets of feminism are.
Oh. Okay, I agree that a lot of, especially like us, here we are in the US, I think that our feminism is very focused on that. I think that I try and look at all of those issues based on context. I think context is really, really important. So to kind of, I don't want to sound attacking at all, but to refer to the sports one, when I was in San Francisco, what I was doing was playing semi-pro soccer, so I'm a former semi-pro athlete, and when I think about athletics, I get really like passionate because I bet if we asked any of those women who are the tennis players, they would be more than happy to play 5 matches, but that's not how it goes, and that's not how they train for their entire lives. And so I think the context of starting like pay equity, yes, I think that they should be paid equally to the men. I think that's awesome. And I think that the National Tennis Federation should go back to wherever you start as a kid and girls play 5 matches. Or men and women both switch to 4. Anarchy in the tennis world. But like, you know, I think that it should be equal on all spaces, and so I think it's good to get the equality in the pay, but I think that we can't, you know, knock the female tennis players because they're not given the same amount of time to play. I don't think, you know, they opted. And I feel that way on all sorts of sports, and I am actually in the minority that I don't think sports should ever be segregated. I think everything should be co-ed from the very beginning, and everyone's like, but girls are weaker, and I'm like, no they're not, blah, blah, blah. But that's a very strong thing, and I'm very much in the minority of that, and I know that, but that's one of the things I think. And so I think it's just important when we're looking at those issues to think about context, what background you're coming from, what knowledge I myself have, and what information other people have on that.
A lot of what I would say is similar to what everyone else said. With the reproductive rights and choice, I mean, I'm personally, for my own person, I would be pro-life, but I'm pro-choice because I don't think that anyone can basically say what a woman can do with her body, and I think that that's okay. I think that's okay that I have that, not conflict, because it's not a conflict for me, because there are a lot of decisions that I make with being Catholic and, you know, just that part of me, that I make it okay for myself to not agree with everything and to choose what I want, because I feel like that's the major theme is choice. I mean, you can choose to support what you want, but for me, a lot of it, especially with religion too, is, you know, for my person, I know what makes me happy, and why would I push that on anybody else? So, you know, whatever, it's about choice.
I would agree, and I would agree with the context issue. I wanted to get back to that a little bit because I think that is really, really very important. In terms of the wage differentials, for example, one thing that has been brought up is that, well, women choose to take time off to have children, and so therefore it's fair, or women you know, make choices about their careers in such a way that you see this disparity, so therefore it's fair. And what I like to remind people is that choices are always made within contexts and within constraints. I don't believe that we are all free, acting of our own free will all the time. It's, you know, it's a philosophical debate at some point. But I think that we are all affected by various kinds of constraints and contexts in which we make choices. And so I think the most important thing is to make sure that people have equal opportunities to be able to make the best choices that they can for their lives. And without those equal opportunities, people make choices based on what their constraints allow them to make choices on. And so, you know, you might go, and also there's a phenomenon where once women go into a field, it loses its prestige. Gee, I wonder why that happens. So we have to think about sexism as well within that. You know, why is it that, you know, clinical psychology that, you know, decades ago women didn't used to be involved in that they're now largely involved in, why does that seem to have lost its prestige and along that, with that its pay? So there are definitely issues of sexism within that. And I am personally pro-choice because I think that when women don't have choice in various aspects of their lives, that's a form of oppression. And that goes along with my definition of how I was talking about feminism and eliminating oppressions. So those are completely compatible for me. So I see choice not just in terms of reproductive issues, but in all kinds of choices that women make within contexts and constraints. And I think that's really important, personally, to look at.
May I jump back in?
Oh.
Thank you. I feel like I didn't really answer your question whenever I was giving my response. I really feel like the things that you brought up are basic human rights, and so everyone has the right to feel safe. Everyone has the right to choose what they want to do with their body. Everyone has the right to earn a fair wage, and so it's not something that, like, one person deserves. Everyone deserves those rights to feel secure in themselves. And I think that that's a huge part in overcoming sexism, as everyone, I think, here was saying, in that having those choices for yourself and having those rights and making sure that no one is trying to take them away from you are all basic human rights that everyone deserves.
I wanted to remind everybody, we did a lot till 7:30. If you do have to leave, please leave your evaluation in your chair, but we're going to take a few more questions. But I just want to remind everybody. Question in the back?
Hello. Hey, my question, I guess, is where do you think feminism has failed or stalled as far as the movement goes in the last 20 years or so?
You can take this one hopeful for me.
I'm sorry, go ahead, Julie.
I just really quick, I think from my perspective, and I don't know that this is necessarily a failure. I think that word, to me, that's just a really strong word. But I think what Shrubi was saying about feminism in America maybe is where there's more of a difference, that a lot of times the ideal of a feminist is bra burning and don't show my legs and all of those things rather than fighting for women's rights. And I think we don't talk about starting from a very early age again, whether in schools or wherever, we don't teach children about what the difference between being a boy and a girl and then how to make that equal and showing them equal. And again, it goes back with just gendering from when children are small and those type of things that exacerbate those the sexist beliefs over time. And then I think when students come to college, then this is what I think why maybe I jumped to answer it so quickly. Then when they come to college, then it's, oh, the feminist student union or something, you know, which is a great thing, but I think there's such a dichotomy between students on campus, and I think that's where I would say we could do a better job of educating throughout time. Or even like when I told my mom that I was sitting on this panel, she was like, oh, do you consider yourself a feminist? And I was like, yeah, you are. You make me do half the things that I want to do, but she doesn't think of herself in that way because, you know, whatever. So that's my opinion.